Hey guys, it's the Procrastinator. I have been playing Final Fantasy VII for the past 4 days, non-stop. I had pre-ordered this thing years ago, probably like most of us. I just pre-ordered it as soon as it was available for pre-order. It was released this Friday. I started playing it at 12:01. I jumped right on, and I just, because I've been kind of gone for a while, just radio silence. I figured I'd do a review of it right away as soon as I got off. Kind of a day or two out of it right now, but it took me a while to process everything. So I'll just jump right in. The first look of it, the first few hours, it felt perfect. Everything about it was amazing. Beautiful graphics. The story was the same, and it was amazing, and everything was so much richer than we remembered. The world that they created, Midgar was beautiful. Everything was just perfect. The interface is just as you remember, which is just adds to that awesome feeling that you get as a fan. It opens up the same way Final Fantasy VII, the original, opened up with that same menu, just so crisp and clean though, and you feel like you're in for an amazing ride. And then you go way up, and it's way more than you could expect, and then it kind of crashes. It slowly goes down, and then it just crashes hardcore at the end. The things that I did love as a fan, again, the nostalgia, you can't you can't not love that. The fact that you're getting what you've been asking for 15 years is an amazing thing. I do appreciate that they went back and remade this game. I just wish they did it better. But the interface, like I said, it's just like you remember. The graphics are clear and crisp. The voice acting is actually pretty on point for most of the characters. Sephiroth was kind of off for me. I felt like he needed to be a little bit different, but everybody else is pretty on point. The story that you remember from the original, it's all there, but it's kind of hidden amongst all this other new story that they're kind of throwing at us. But it's there, so you're gonna love the fact that you're gonna go through and see all the pieces of that story that you remember, along with a bunch of other stuff. The fact that we're able to see everything now. Before, we just had a few kind of scenes in Midgar where it was like, there's a few iconic scenes. The wall in Wall Market itself, the Shinra building, Sector 7 slums, and Aerith's house. All those are iconic scenes that we get to see. And we get to see them fully built up and detailed and beautiful. Seeing all that, seeing the city itself fully formed, is a real treat as a fan. It was kind of emotional, to be honest, because when you played as a kid, Final Fantasy VII was the first game that I played on the PlayStation, so it was kind of an emotional attachment to that game. I played the crap out of it. Obviously, like millions of other super fans like me, I'm sure we've all been waiting for this moment for so long. So to have that, and for it to be so immediately beautiful and perfect, was kind of emotional. I was so excited. I felt myself smiling the whole time for the first 2 or 3 hours, but it slowly started to fall off. So those are the things that you can love as a fan. You're gonna love the nostalgia of it, the detail and the hard work these guys put into creating something from essentially nothing. They created this whole world from just a few scenes, a few pixelated images. They created this whole world. So you're gonna love that. The interface you're gonna love, the mechanics that you're gonna love, the materia and the equipment's all there. And they added a few things to leveling up your weapons, which was pretty cool. The story, again, you can take it or leave it, but you're gonna appreciate the fact that they did keep every bit of the story that you will remember in there. But it's just the fact that they added so much more. So now onto the issues as a fan. The biggest one is the story. You have the original story there. We're all okay with the original story. It was beautiful. And we can understand the need to expand on that story because there's a lot of things that will end up needing explanation because of the changes that they've made. They're trying to make sense of the story. So there's certain concessions that we have to make, that we've got to understand that they need to change the story in certain aspects. But for them to change it as much as they did, at first they just added a few things and you're like, all right, I can get on board with that. But then as you close in on the ending, you realize that a lot of the things that they changed didn't need to be changed. They didn't add anything. They didn't expand the story at all. And then they add other things that completely mitigate those changes that they made in the first place. They completely counteract any changes they make. And then the ending itself is, I'm not gonna give any spoilers because I don't want. I mean, I'm sure all of you guys are out there still playing this, and you're not a psycho like me that does a 40-hour marathon in like 3 days. So, but the ending is, I was just very disappointed. The ending of what would typically be this game is you're leaving Midgar. That's where they wanted to end it. So in the original Final Fantasy VII, you have all the battles leading up to the end in the Shinra building. X, Y, and Z happens, and you leave Midgar to go continue your journey. But in this, while you still have those iconic battles, there's additional battles and an additional story arc that comes out of nowhere. It literally is thrown into your face, and then you're looking at the screen thinking, what the hell are they doing? It's confusing and super irritating that they did this when it was so easy for them to make an amazing game without this craziness. It's already there. The ending's already there for us. Already stressful. It's already amped up. It's already intense. For them to take it and just make it insane is kind of ridiculous. You could have just left it at that already intense moment in the original. At that point, the story is starting to come together. And then you could leave it on a cliffhanger if, you know, you don't need to, that's fine. But you throw in all these different things and twists and turns, it just doesn't make any sense. The combat is another huge issue that a lot of people are already voicing their opinions about. The combat itself is very cool. You can block, you can move around, you can attack. The combat AI is retarded. If you're not playing the person, the character, the AI takes over and they just run around in circles, blocking. You know, they'll throw an attack here and there, but that's it. They don't do anything. They don't use magic. They don't use their moves. They don't use anything. So it's super passive if you're not controlling them. What you have to do is you've got to swap between characters constantly, just mashing the hit button so that all of them focus on hitting, because as soon as you stop mashing the hit button, they'll go back to blocking. They've had a fully functional, active RPG combat system since Final Fantasy XII, and here we are 15 years out from Final Fantasy XII, and they can't make this happen? It just seems really weird that it's just a crazy mess. Another one of the issues that I felt as somebody who loves to explore is they don't reward exploration. They don't reward your curiosity. There's a few places where you can veer off the main path, but those paths are just usually dead ends. There's no treasure chests, there's no surprises, there's no hidden gifts. Anything worth finding is found directly in front of your feet on the main path. They're going to throw everything at you. They want you to follow this specific path, and that's it. They don't care about any other little branch offs that you do. In Final Fantasy VII and all the RPGs that they've had, all the Final Fantasies, you're rewarded for exploring because you can explore. In this game, you can't really explore anything. There's nothing to explore. It's so limited that every piece of the map is part of the story. The story is just constantly forced down our throats, and I like to have the story and follow the story, but I like to explore, and we can't explore because they made it this way where we're not going to be rewarded for exploring, so they don't care about it. It's all about the story. It's literally all about this new story. The dialogue is kind of awkward because of this new story. They're trying to expand everything. They're trying to take this like 3 or 4 hour part of the game and make it 40 hours. So they make these really awkward dialogue scenes where people are getting shot at, people are dying around you, and you're having this full out conversation that lasts 10 minutes. You can't do anything. You're just sitting there talking when you're supposed to be rushing or doing something, and they're just like, no, we're going to have this conversation because we feel it's good right now. That doesn't make any sense. Kind of, it's disappointing. And it's not open world. You would expect like a $60 game. You would expect something. It's an RPG. It's Final Fantasy. It's a Final Fantasy, so you would expect some part of it to be explorable, open world. Nothing's interactable. You can't go into any buildings. You can't explore anything. It's just really upsetting. I'm going to say it again. The ending was such a huge mistake. I'm super disappointed in the direction they took. It feels kind of like multiple different writers were given scenes of this story, and they were told to make a story based on the scene that they were given. Like, if you had never played this game before, what would you say if we gave you this scene of them climbing a wall and saying that they're going to go to the Shinra building. And you'd probably be like, well, I don't know. What's the Shinra building? And you try to make a story. It's like a child trying to make a story from an image. And they'd come up with insane things. And that's exactly what these writers did. They came up with insane things. I guess that's probably the best way to explain it. It feels like a room full of children were given the idea of Final Fantasy VII and told to explain it. And this is how they explained it. They're trying to say that this game it's for everybody. They're trying to say we made this game for fans and non-fans alike. But fans are going to be the only ones that understand the story within this story. Non-fans are just going to be like, well, this is kind of all funky. Like, it doesn't mix together. So fans are going to be able to separate those things and be like, all right, I understand this, and you're going to be able to kind of understand what they're trying to do. But as a non-fan, you'd just be kind of confused. As somebody who's never played this game before, you'd just kind of look at it and be like, I don't understand any of this stuff. And especially at the end, because you hadn't played the game before, you wouldn't even know these characters. You wouldn't know where they're coming from or what they're saying, and it'd be very, very confusing for somebody who's not a fan. So I think them trying to say it's made for fans is just kind of a cop-out. It's just a way for them to have their artistic little eyes wide shut, let's see what we can do and how to make money party. And that's kind of how I feel about it. That's the end result here, is that I'm super disappointed in developers. This wasn't a gift to us. It wasn't something that they were doing specifically for the fans. It wasn't something that they were trying to say thank you to us for all, loving their games and really supporting them. It wasn't a thank you. It wasn't a gift. It wasn't anything to do with us. It was just a way for them to say, hey, we've got the golden ticket here. Final Fantasy VII Remake. This thing's going to be the biggest seller ever. So let's just try and do something funky with it. And they did. They did something very funky. And I think that's all I got to say about that, guys. If you already pre-ordered, obviously try to enjoy it as much as you can. If you haven't pre-ordered yet, or if you haven't ordered it rather, if you haven't picked it up yet, I'd probably just say take a good long look at all the gameplay and reviews, and then make your decision. But I would not suggest it, guys. All right, that's all for me. I'm out.